Welcome everyone to Minions of the Zoo, Tuesday edition. I'm Skep, Tock, your keeper this evening. And with me I have Minion the Harry Channel. And he is muted currently. And good friends of the Minions, Irate Prostate.
What's up, people? What's
So
sad, man?
Nice to have people aboard to talk with me this evening. I expect we'll be joined later on by Blind Press and Jenna at some point, but it's a little bit of a skeleton crew this evening. And Mr. Prostate, how was your day today?
Laid back AF.
What you been doing?
Well, it's like I've been running really hard for a while, and
with the move and everything, all the other changes you've been going through.
Yeah, through for the YouTube shit too. So,
oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. So, I'm trying to work up some new stuff, and I've been doing a lot of just busy work.
Yeah,
got to make it look pretty.
Yeah,
as they say. Yeah.
There's always a lot of stuff that needs.
Yeah, and I got to play a little, relax and play a little game.
So, what games are you playing these days?
I am playing an old emulation of a Sega Genesis game called Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
Ah, yes, I remember. I actually remember the game.
Fun fucking game. I love it. It's goofy and fun, and you run around killing them monsters. And the monsters get dumber and weirder,
Yeah.
So, you got your Universal monsters, and you've got these, references all these different movies, right? So if you watch the movies, that, when the werewolf comes, you throw the silver at him.
It conforms to the rules of my old favorite game. If it moves, shoot it. I love that game. I used to play it by the hour.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's basically an arcade game, kind of crafted into a first-person shooter. It's but anyway, Harry, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay.
Had a good day today?
Well, it was productive. Got some bread in process, so that'll be good for tomorrow. And it looks like it might actually rain on the Central Coast over the next few days. So we'll take that. And I'm sure Sora will be happy not to have all of the weather just pounding into British Columbia.
It's one of the hazards of living in British Columbia. She doesn't.
One of the reasons why there's all those damn trees. Yeah.
She shouldn't be so Canadian.
Yeah. Good point. But no, I mean, it was actually a beautiful day in California, and generally people were pretty okay to me today, so I can't complain.
Well, that's a good day, especially in California. I would expect you to be attacked or raped by a homeless guy at some point.
Yeah. I was thinking about opening up a Louis Vuitton outlet in my house, but I decided maybe now wasn't the right time for that.
What, too soon?
Too soon, yeah.
So, anyway, well, I thought it would be an interesting night to just truly have the proverbial free-form conversation. We can talk about anything that we want to. If there's something on your mind, bring it up. I've brought up so many topics over the years. I would love to hear topics from anything else, anything you want to talk about. Bring it up.
I've got one, but I think our guest should go first. Do you have anything, Irate, before I
got nothing, bro.
Okay, well then I guess here we go. So about the whole thing with the looting or organized robbery. I don't know, it rose by any other name. I don't really care.
Yes,
and
alternative shopping.
And you've noticed over the last couple decades, there have been these chants that we need to reform law enforcement because to make it fair, that the punishment should fit the crime. So, if you steal a loaf of bread, you should, have punishment that's sort of commensurate with that.
Okay.
And I was thinking about the current situation where you have these large organized mobs and the kinds of things that you can do with just Twitter and technology. And I think we might want to consider going back to the good old ways of making the punishment be enough to deter the crime. Because if you've got 100 people in a gang and only 10% of them are going to get caught, I think we should make the 10% take 100% of the punishment. And I know that's not terribly fair, but I don't think we have another option if we want to live in a civilized society anymore.
So if you catch the 10% of the people doing the thing, and you say you have to take something that's 10 times worse than the appropriate punishment for this crime, and by our calculus, that comes to burning you in a cage until you are dead, over the course of a week, slow roasting, and have you publicly scream how sorry you are for your sins. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, you're really going big with this idea.
I was just go home.
We have these cases where this repeat criminal was stealing a loaf of bread, and he shouldn't get life in prison under a 3 strikes law because he was stealing a loaf of bread. And maybe we should consider the idea that, maybe he should. Maybe repeat criminals should just be put away and not let out. Maybe this lawlessness needs to just stop.
It does need to stop. I mean, you're kind of submitting a similar suggestion that to something that I've tweeted about on occasion, and that is that what would be the harm to the United States if every single person in a federal and state penitentiary died? If every prisoner died right now, what would be the net to the country?
I think it would be a pretty big moral stain, but that's not what you're asking about.
That's not what I'm not suggesting doing it. I'm suggesting look at the cost that these creatures and tell me what great contribution to society is going to be made by one, some, or all of the people who are behind bars right now.
Well, I really wasn't thinking in terms of some sort of final solution. I was thinking more along the lines of you catch somebody, you can prove that they were shoplifting. Why not put them in jail for a couple of years? I'm not worried so much about the big crime that gets the big sentences. It's the little stuff. It's the broken windows. It's the graffiti. It's that kind of stuff. And at the same time, if we decide that we just aren't going to enforce stupid laws, like let's not put people away for smoking a joint, let's not do all of that sort of stuff, but for the stuff that actually matters, where one human is doing harm of some sort to other humans, maybe it's okay if the punishment isn't fair. Maybe it just needs to be a deterrent, because it's game theory, right? You've got these big groups, and you know that if 1,000 of you descend on a target and only 10 of you are going to get caught, that's pretty good return on investment for a big screen TV. You want that penalty that somebody's going to pay to be big enough that they go, yeah, I know there's not much chance that I'm going to get caught, but 5 years in federal prison doesn't sound like a real fun time to me.
Here's what happens when you have big penalties like that, and there's ample backup for this, by the way. You get people who have nothing to lose. They will not get caught because they will not subject themselves to that. And you suddenly get a person who has nothing to lose at the level of stealing a TV, as opposed to used to be, you had to kill a bunch of people, then you had nothing left to lose. They're either going to kill you or put you away for the rest of your life. Now they'll kill you or put you away for a very long time for stealing the TV. You get an entirely new class of people with nothing left to lose. And it's, when I realized that, I'd simply go to the place where, let's just go ahead and kill them. I mean, they don't, they're not having fun. Do you think they're having fun in jail? They're not having fun in jail. Go to a jail sometime. Spend as much time in jail as I have.
That's a hard pass.
Yeah. And I will tell you that that's as bad an existence as a Western mind can conceive of. You just can't believe what that feels like. These guys are hopeless with their freedom taken away. Their futures are gone. They have nothing to look forward to. And they just get deeper into their own psychoses over time.
Well, I started out, because I'm looking at a lot of, small stuff, being a Californian.
Yeah.
Right. And it being 950, 990, I don't care what the number is, but there's some number below which it's an infraction if you steal something. As long as you didn't break into a place that was locked up, break into somebody's car, break into somebody's house, break into a place that's closed. But if you walk into a Neiman Marcus and you see a coat that you like and you just pick up said coat that's cost $900 and you walk out the door, there's almost nothing stopping that person from doing that if they're of a mind to be a criminal. And we have gone so far in one direction that things are starting to kind of come apart. And you also can look at this kind of crime as being a gateway drug. I don't have any statistics to back this up, but there were 4 people that rolled up on some people in L.A. They were at the valet station. This was yesterday. And they robbed these rich people at the car valet station of $100,000 worth of jewelry, armed robbery, right on the street.
Oh my.
Yeah, in the nice part of town. And I don't know if there's cause and effect here, but I don't necessarily. I feel like you're going for the most extreme punishments as sort of a counterexample, and I'm just looking for a more appropriate level of deterrence. Not necessarily. I think you're right to kind of come at it from the top and say there's an upper bound on how hard we want to go.
Yes.
But I'm pretty sure we want to go a lot harder than we're going now.
Here's the problem. People who commit crimes never think they're going to be caught. That's why punishment isn't a deterrence. If people thought about getting caught before they committed a crime, that those people would commit a lot fewer crimes than get committed. The people who commit crimes, they just push past the possibility that they could get caught. They want what they want. They've got a plan and they execute on it. Period. And maybe I've just known too many criminal-minded people, and I've known one or two that they don't even think that way. That's not going to deter the kind of people who there's a kind of person who just doesn't even live in the same world as you and I do. When we're about to check out of a place, we want to make sure that, the checkout person counts all our stuff because we wouldn't want to accidentally cheat the store, right? That's the level of moral interchange that's going on in our minds when we buy stuff.
We don't want free paper towels because they're on that bottom thing in the grocery cart.
Exactly, the soft drinks on the bottom. Exactly.
And if we found there were paper towels there that we didn't pay for, we would go back in the store and we would pay for them.
Exactly right. And so that is such a completely different mindset. And these people are on top of all this, having the resentment, feeling entitled and all that. They have Al Sharpton and the usual liberal cadre out there saying, what you're doing is okay. What you're doing is justified. What you're doing is reparations for, longstanding injustice. it's a good thing. It's true morality. You know, you're making things fair. You're creating equity by taking from the man.
No, new message. If we catch you, you will serve time in jail.
Well,
done.
There's that. And here's the last thing. It costs, depending on the state and depending on a number of things, between 15 and, well, actually, it's between $30,000 and $70,000 a year to incarcerate a prisoner, depending on the state.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if you put a thief who stole $1,000 TV, if you put him in jail for 5 years, you've just cost the state $350,000.
Well, that's if you send him to state prison. There's jail and then there's prison. I mean, I'm no expert here, but I would think that county jail costs are significantly less than state prison costs.
You know, I don't know the answer to that. I'm getting prison costs, but jail costs are a little bit harder because it's so fragmented.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably have to go into the university groups and look for studies there. I'm not seeing any government data on it. You might be right. You might be right. Just put somebody. Usually, the way that jail and prison works is if your sentence is 1 year or less, you spend it in a jail. It's usually not a typical jail. It's usually a large county jail that's been designated the kind of jail where it has additional facilities where they can handle a number of other people. They tend to be larger jails where you have people who are not just being processed. Lots of jails are just for prisoners who are, being tried and they're being held without bail or they can't make bail. But larger jails, yeah.
And what's this bail thing of which you speak?
Yeah, well, that's the other thing is I really think the answer to this is almost exactly what Giuliani did, and that is that offensive policing, broken window policing, putting them up against the wall kind of policing.
Well, in LA, right before Thanksgiving, there were one of the first of this wave of things where they went in and they just cleaned out a bunch of high-end stores down in LA. They caught 14 of these people out of the huge mob. They released all of them on low or no bail. And they did this because there's a policy in LA to not have people accumulating in the jails because of COVID.
Yep.
So because of COVID, you've taken people who there's no way in hell these people are going to show up for court.
No, of course not.
On no bail. And there was recently a killing in the North Bay, or the San Francisco Bay,
mm-hmm.
where there was a guy who was let out on $1,000 bail, who had previously been brought in for not showing up when he posted bail. He basically failed to appear.
Yeah,
you've got somebody who failed to appear that you let go on very low bail, who then went and killed somebody.
What's the problem with that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Exactly.
It doesn't exactly. I mean, what is the cost of people not feeling safe? What is the cost to a community of not being able to get stores because all of the retailers leave? All they're left with are tiny little stores with bars on the window. Yeah. And, the guy with a shotgun behind plexiglass. And you pay those rates. Fresh vegetables? No. You didn't get any fresh vegetables. You're welcome to take the salad off that pre-made sandwich. There's your vegetable.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, there's a bunch of costs. I mean, I know it's expensive to put people in jail, but there's a lot of costs that I think are not making it into the calculus here.
Well, you're right, and what is the opportunity cost for letting somebody out like that? I saw where one guy had was arrested for raping a woman. He bailed out on almost no bail at all and beat the hell out of 2 women within a day of being released. Just, it's great fun.
Yeah.
It's great fun. I don't have, yes, I think we should lock people up for longer, and, the instant release, the no bail, being released on your own recognizance, really are beginning to strip away all the downsides of crime. And people will start taking the law into their own hands. Yeah, there's something else that's going on too that I think is worth pointing out, and I think it lends an ugliness to all this, and that is that when you see that a white person has been killed by a black person, there is an unmistakable feeling among certain parts of the journalistic establishment that, well, it was only a white person. It's not really a big problem, whereas when a black person gets killed by a white person, it's reacted to very differently than when the reverse is true by the press.
Well, they have their little attitudes about stuff. They're very, very tolerant of women molesting boys in high schools. Apparently.
Absolutely. Those women had problems of their own. They're misunderstood.
Yeah.
And they're cute.
Sometimes.
And as they said on South Park, nice. God, that is a great scene on South Park.
Yeah, South Park it's been a lot of fun. So sorry to come in hot with such a depressing topic, but I think you've helped me refine it a little bit. I think property crime needs to be treated more seriously, and we need to undo a lot of the making property crime penalties less punitive.
Well, and then there's that bullshit thing about insurance taking care of stuff. A lot of those people are during the riots and stuff. A lot of those businesses were by people that couldn't afford insurance.
I could dig up my insurance plan right now for my business, and I could read the part on civil unrest if it was helpful. No, really? I'm not going to do that.
I would love to hear that, though.
I'm not covered for civil unrest. Sure most people are not covered. If it's actually looting,
considered
a lot
of
places,
God, maybe?
Yeah, they lump it right in with force majeure. If it was really organized robbery, that would actually help with most people's insurance. Again, not an expert, just a guy who has a business with an insurance policy.
I hear you.
But basically, I was just sitting here thinking, what do we do about it? And it's like, given the game calculus from their perspective, we need to stop worrying about going easy on these people to make it more fair and more just. These calls for justice have actually made law enforcement really ineffective. And we need to do a lot of stuff like fix the bail system. Like, for instance, if somebody stole a bunch of stuff from a store, right? And you were going to let them out, how about at the very least just say, well, return the big screen TV that you took along with your bail, and then we'll talk. Let's just like baby steps in the right direction. I know that's not necessarily feasible, but they've even made it so that there aren't legal penalties for selling and buying stolen merchandise now. That's how bad it's gotten in California, because they've removed just about every deterrent. Like, imagine if you stole the stuff, but you can only do something with so many TVs if you can't sell them. Oh no, we took care of that. Now you can sell all the excess stuff. So you've got people with garbage bags going in and just cleaning off shelves of cosmetics and stuff, and then they show up on eBay. And nobody does a damn thing about it. And I'm just done with this crap.
And you should be. I mean, the first place start is at home, protecting your stuff at home, responsible gun ownership. Some, have a security system. If somebody comes into your home, breaks into your home, shoot them. Don't threaten them. Don't point the gun at them. Don't say mean things to them. Just shoot them.
If you do it properly, they'll just have to take your word for whatever verbal exchange took place.
That's exactly right.
I asked him nicely to leave, and he said, "No, I'm going to rape you in your bottom." And I said, "That's not going to happen." And then I shot him in self-defense. No, you don't have to have that conversation. You can just go, "No." You can speak with your trigger finger.
Yeah. Looks like there's 4 rounds in the brain.
I slipped.
They shot himself. Yeah.
Big Alec Baldwin
suicide
fan.
I've ever seen.
You
Not
guys
really
think of
much
this
of the head left.
This Alec Baldwin thing where he's saying that he didn't actually pull the trigger, and everybody's pointing out that that gun won't go off on its own.
That gun doesn't work that way, Alex.
Did you see that shit on Twitter where somebody approached him and he fucking chased him off, like doing his usual Alec Baldwin thing,
Yeah, just wanted to be out with his wife, and he gets chased around.
Yeah, no shit. Whatever, famous man.
He's a jerk. That's for
That's
sure.
one thing I love about famous people that bitch about being famous, right?
Yep.
It's like an Alabama fan bitching about how they win.
Well, the thing I wanted to bring up about that was that.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to derail you.
No. That it Kid Rock had a great thing to say about all this. He was talking about how it might have been in response to something Alec Baldwin was talking about, the paparazzi getting after him. This was several years ago. And Kid Rock said, "You know what? You signed up for this. Shut the fuck up. You signed up for this. You're a famous actor. Shut up. This is what comes with being famous. I have to deal with this stuff all the time. I don't care. I love it. I signed up for this. I prayed for this. I wanted this more than anything. I worked harder than anything in my life for this. And I got it. Fuck off." I love Kid Rock's attitude about fame.
Yeah.
It just comes with the territory. Be an adult. But I was reading something Assassin wrote in chat. I'm trying to go back up. Oh, yeah. He was saying to Harry, "I like the saying, you loot, we shoot better, because that gets the message across faster."
Mm-hmm.
I think that if someone is looting your store, that's just I'd have a special law saying it's okay to shoot looters.
Absolutely.
It's okay to shoot shoplifters. Seriously. It's okay to shoot shoplifters. You drop a few in their tracks. Little Susie has, went and thought she'd, snitch some false eyelashes or whatever, and or some makeup, tries to walk it out of the store and dies in a hail of gunfire. Word will get around.
We could you could fix some of this with technology too. You just put a man trap in. So, I don't know, for those who don't know what a man trap is, it's basically a door that opens, and there's usually it's circular, right? And then you walk in, then the door closes behind you, then the door opens in front of you and lets you in. So if you have a bunch of merchandise and you run into it, you go into the man trap, it closes behind you, and then you just scan the RFID tags. They're like, "Let me out." It's like, "Nah, I don't think so." And if just to make Skep happy, if there was like a trap door and it led to a pit with some alligators, fine.
Exactly. So pissed off, hungry crocodile.
You get the sluice. That's what you get. You get the sluice.
Exactly.
But seriously, this would be where you call the police and then they look forward to 6 months in jail.
Oh, I was going to just say the man trap just opens fire in there.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Mhm.
it has sandbags and stuff like that.
Like in the movies with the
So it's
the
safe.
Ebola research thing, you know, where oh no, it's escaped and the flames engulf everything in the lab. It's like okay, all
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the way that works.
Yeah.
But anyway, sharks with laser beams. Chat's getting out of hand.
Well, I'm glad they're enjoying it.
Metaphor says in Texas, there is a 1921 valid case law that if someone snatches your wallet or purse, you have the right to shoot them up to the range of your weapon. Well, yeah, that's not actually the way that's what the law does mean, but that's not the way that it reads. The way that the law reads in Texas is that we can use deadly force to protect things of value to us, things that we have that someone is trying to take away from us, or things that that are on our property that people are trying to hurt. And that can be as little as somebody just trying to force his way into your front door. And, if he's just even trying hard, to open a locked door, you have a right to shoot him. The complete right to shoot him dead. You may protect yourself and your property through the use of deadly force. That's a great thing about Texas law. But that's the way that law needs to it. Obviously, you have the right to shoot them beyond the range of your weapon, but I'm not sure that would be too useful.
Yeah, I just don't care what people with private security who live in gated communities think about the level of deterrence that's necessary, because they're not dealing with the issues of what was the Seth Rogen thing? Did you encounter that piece of stupidity on Twitter?
I was watching his reaction to the reaction of people who hated his latest cinematic effort.
Well, people only live so many days, right, in their lifetime, or so many weeks. And of that time, you need a certain amount of time for leisure. So somebody's productive output is limited.
Mm-hmm.
And they trade part of their life, of their limited amount of life, in exchange to do something they don't want to do so that they can get money to do things they do want to do. When you take something from somebody, you are taking just a little bit of their life from them.
Yes, you are.
And I don't think property crime is all that much different from a lot of other crime. I mean, it's not as bad as, child molesters or rapists or violent criminals, directly.
It's a little bit of murder.
But to minimize it the way people do, like, it doesn't really matter because things are unjust. You deserve this. Go out and carpe diem there, head on down to CVS. Get the good lipstick. It's fine. You can do that. I have no patience for this crap.
Yeah.
And I think we need to definitely go, okay, that experiment was interesting, but it didn't work.
Yeah. What I'm concerned about is that toothpaste may not go back in the tube. We have an amazing number of stupid people in this country.
No shit.
And they're not just stupid, but they are undermotivated. They are actually fairly easily satisfied. That's part of the problem, is nothing will motivate them. All they want to do is have a warm place to get high and play games, and have enough food for their stomach. That's literally all that they live for. And that is a tremendous number of people. I do want to recognize Mr. Adam and his comment about to go directly to direct energy weapons. to zap the people doing the shoplifting. That's an outstanding idea, by the way. And we should say hi to chat, by the way. And I see Jack Gunsky's here. Hi, Jack. Hi, Mr. Adam. Who else is here? Assassin is here. Costin is here. And Cougar Knife is here. Metaphorist, who I mentioned earlier. And let's see, anybody else? Don't see anybody else. Sorry, Adamantine is here. Costin is here. Green Badger is here. And I think that's the bunch of everybody. Well, anybody. We are glad to have you aboard with us this evening. We're just kind of kicking it around, just three old guys, just talking about any little old thing. What else is on your mind, Harry?
Oh, let's see. I had a chat with Irate briefly yesterday, and I think I said something like, I'm old. I'm just not as old as Skep. At least not yet. So, I mean, there are degrees. I think I might be the youngest one here, but not by much.
I think you are. But anyway, just keep.
What else is going on?
What
else? Yeah, if I just keep staying above ground long enough, I'll catch up with you.
Right.
I don't know, man. There's a comet that is in conjunction with Venus and the Moon tonight. That's pretty cool. If I'd known about it earlier, I could have actually done something about it.
Well, fuck.
That's got to be out right now. It's got to be up right now. That's probably already down. Yeah, it's
still raining here.
So anyway, we've had such overcast weather here. I haven't been paying attention to the stars for the last couple of days. So what is there anything spectacular about this comet, or?
No, people just like it when things are next to other things in the sky. I'm not particularly sure. Not particularly sure why people get so excited about it.
What's pretty? It's beautiful.
I think yes. I don't think it's like easy for like normies to that aren't enthusiasts or anything to take part in it. If you just look at this one spot, you'll see three things. Instead of having to look through the whole fucking sky.
Well, it's called Comet Leonard. Seems rather familiar. And it is the brightest comet of the year. So if anybody's curious, you can go online and find out where to look. And if you're under dark skies and it's clear, you should check it out.
Indeed.
All right. Space.com says, want to see Comet Leonard? Here are telescope and binoculars recommendations spotted this month. And the Comet C 2021 A1 Leonard, also known as Comet Leonard, is visible in binoculars and telescopes and will be relatively bright in the coming days, although we can't say for sure as that's kind of unpredictable. Blah, blah,
Do
blah.
we know the amount of years it'll be before Comet Leonard's back around this part of the sky?
I think we'll all be dead. Just an educated guess.
No, that's what it says. A once in a lifetime.
If it's an Oort cloud guy, we're not gonna.
Most comets are pretty once in a lifetime. Most of them.
Yeah, very much so.
I saw the Comet Alley.
I think if you, I can't remember what I'm not a huge comet follower, but I've seen a few of them through telescopes. They are certainly interesting.
I actually saw Halley's Comet through a telescope back in 1985 or something, whenever it came back, 86.
Mm-hmm.
Later than that, you're thinking of Cahutek, because Uzi and I
maybe that was
Comet Haley. Yeah, it was Cahutek.
Yeah, it might have been Cahutek. What was I?
It's a blue comet. It's kind of cool looking.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't Kotek the one that a bunch of nitwits killed themselves?
Killed themselves. Yeah, that was the one, because the Cahutek had the had the spaceship along with it that was going to take them away to heaven.
Oh yeah,
That
Heaven's
was
Gate.
the Heaven's Gate group.
Yes. You know, that got taught at the University of Alabama for a year or two. It's always some weird connection. It's weird.
What does it take to convince a group of people to just
by the
off
way.
themselves? That's just nuts to me. I can't understand that even.
Well, you call yourself Fauci and you go on TV and you know.
But like, you know, like Jonestown and those Kohotech nitwits and you know, you get these groups of people. The human mind is awfully fragile. To convince somebody to do something that's counter to the most basic drive of, you know, self-preservation.
To survive.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
How warped do you have to get? Not that a few of them didn't get heavily peer pressured in Jonestown. That's a euphemism for force-fed poison Kool-Aid.
Yeah, I was going to say they were forced to drink it at gunpoint.
But there were a bunch of them that just went along with this crap.
Yeah.
Yep.
So didn't Jim Jones try to skip out after this was done?
And then he shot himself. He put a
okay.
gun to his head and blew his head off. At the end of it, and he was standing up at the front of the thing with his, you know, number 2 guy, who I think was a lawyer or something. That was a very bizarre thing. By the way, Leonard's comet will return in only 80,000 years.
Okay.
Next time I'm going to be ready.
Yeah. next time I'm totally taking that picture.
Yeah. I'll get that. I'll get a really good set of space binoculars. It'll be fine.
Man, you just don't realize how big space is, how much space there is between things in space.
Crazy.
There is.
Well, most of space, outer space and inner space, is empty. It's only at the scale where we live and interact that things seem crowded.
Right.
You know, at the subatomic scale, there's tons and tons of empty space, and at the astronomic scale, there's tons and tons of empty space. Most of the universe is nothing.
Yep. That's why when 2 galaxies collide, it's unbelievably unlikely that any stars will collide. That a star from one galaxy will strike or even enter into a close gravitational attraction with a star from the other galaxy. That's how far the stars are apart from each other.
But the gravity is enough. When Andromeda and the Milky Way collide, and was it 4.5 billion years?
Yeah, there will be tremendous gravitational effect on, you know, the cumulative effect of gravity. Yeah.
Yeah, you won't get stars crashing into each other so much as I think there's
stars being altered.
Well, there's a 50% chance, I believe. I could be wrong, but I think it's a 50% chance that the Milky Way, that our star, and all the planets with it will just get yeeted out of the solar system, just flung out into empty space. Of course, the Earth will be long dead, and the sun will be a red giant by that point, so we'll be well past caring.
Yeah.
But, our sun, you know, stands a 50-50 chance of just getting kicked out of Milkdromeda.
It could happen. You know, I think one of the first tests that life has to do is it has to come up with an alternative sun. In the very long term, for a life form to survive millions of years, it has to find a way to get a substitute for the sun under which it evolved.
Do you mean billions or millions? Because I think millions you'd be fine.
I think that in less than 1 billion years, I know they're talking about billions of years, but there are some things going on inside the sun that suggest that we may not know enough to be as precise as we think we can be about when the sun is going to get dangerous. I wouldn't be surprised if it was dangerous in less than 500 million years. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
I saw that episode of gosh, what was that episode of The Outer Limits? Was it The Outer Limits or was it no? It was The Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
I can't remember. This guy was having like this fever dream that everything was basically burning up,
Right. We're getting closer and closer to the
and
sun.
but in reality, he was actually freezing to
we're getting
death.
further away from the sun. Right.
That episode scared the crap out of me as a kid.
Me too, dude.
I don't want to have
Right?
dreams about this crap.
Oh shit. No. Man.
But in sci-fi, you can build your Dyson sphere, and if you've got the capacity to do that, you can put whatever super spiffy energy source in the middle of it you want.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that we're going to have to be able to address.
Well, if you have your Dyson sphere, then you can just say, okay, well, holding stations. It's like, oh, the galaxies are starting to collide. Oh, it's trying to throw us out of the galaxy. And no, I don't think so. We're just going to stay here. We're just gonna go. No, sorry, because then you just put motors on the thing. You can do whatever you want.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, in sci-fi
just build
terms,
the Dyson sphere, though. That's
well, you start out with the ring, and then as real estate gets more expensive, you can expand that stuff. Larry Niven, was it Niven and Pornell that wrote that, or is it just Larry Niven? I can't
Larry
remember.
Niven, Ringworld.
Ringworld is a great book.
Yes, it is.
If you like hard science fiction as opposed to this fluffy bullshit science fiction,
this is real science fiction.
This is real science fiction. It's like real hard science fiction. There's no magic. There's no mind reading. There's no telepathy. There's no prophecy. None of this stuff. No spaceships powered by spice snorting aliens. None of that.
Yeah, no. This is all the boys have boy names. All the girls have girl names.
Yeah.
The men are men. The ladies are ladies.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, that's a good book.
It's how science fiction always should have been written.
Ringworld. I remember that book coming out. I never
Niven,
read it though, dude.
Yeah. Now Niven and Pornell, did they write Footfall together? Was that the one they wrote? Was that one of their collabs?
I don't know.
Or was that a Jerry Pornell only?
They collabed on a bunch of stuff, and for the life of me, I can't remember which stuff they collabed on and which stuff they didn't. I can tell you that Jerry Pornell was sort of known for his extremely bad behavior in real life sometimes. He was not a very nice person, but I think he...
I'm sorry, who's this?
Jerry Pornell.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He was... I heard a story of, I won't say who it was who did this, but another fairly famous science fiction writer, a woman, actually threw a drink on him at one of the Worldcons about a decade or two ago. Because he was just being so incredibly rude and inappropriate to people. But I think he's one of those guys that realized this was a bad way to live his life and kind of cleaned up his act. I've known a few people like that who just suddenly, it's like, my doctor said my heart was going to explode if I stopped being an angry asshole all the time. Not everybody can pull that off. Yeah. Have you known anybody who's done that? Because I've known a few people who've actually made that transition.
Transition from what to what?
From angry asshole to calmer person who isn't about to just die.
Yes,
people that are just so angry and rage-filled and that they were basically destroying themselves.
Yeah.
Me.
What it requires is the complete destruction of the ego, which is something I find interesting that Joe Rogan likes to like. He keeps circling around and he'll hit that with just about everybody he talks about.
You know why?
The necessity about the destruction of the ego. What?
Do you know why?
No.
That all comes from A Course in Miracles, which is that was that New Age thing that everybody was taking the course, back in the late 80s. And or not late 80s, I guess early 90s. Anyway, Course in Miracles is, was this thing, and it talked about the importance of, overcoming your ego, destruction of the ego, and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
When you hear someone say destruction of the ego, that almost certainly is going back to this book that was supposedly, written spiritually by two psychiatrists, actually, back in the Northeast. And they said that it was channeled writing, from above, basically Jesus telling them, here's more revelations. And they wrote A Course in Miracles. I actually took that course. It took me 3 years to get through the stupid goddamn thing. But it really does teach you some things about patience and about realizing there are people who are not you, and that they are important. They're worth paying attention to.
They're actual people, right?
Yeah. You're the selfish, egotistical motivation is not the only way to go through life, and it's not necessarily the best way to go through life. Anyway, it certainly provided something for me that I needed at one point, and kind of reset the way that I began, the way that I thought about people and institutions and culture and all the piece parts of life. It had a very, very big effect on me, actually. Just kind of caused me to slow down and, take a look at things. It's also it preceded my getting sober. When I finished that course, I realized I was going to have to stop drinking. And that was, but anyway, that's kind of code word when you hear someone talk about the destruction of the ego. That is almost certainly going back to the course.
Well, it's also Jungian and Freudian.
Oh yeah, the ego.
Harry.
Freud's
this guy named Harry Tiebout.
Definitions.
Have you ever heard that name, Dr. Harry Tiebout?
Yeah. Yes, I have.
He wrote a thing about I wouldn't call it a paper. I don't know what to call it, but about ego destruction. He also wrote something called. Did he write King Baby? I can't remember. That's a good one too, man.
I remember that guy. He wrote some stuff on alcoholism, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Is that one of that's where I have heard that name,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, there's a painter named Wayne Thibault. It spells it
No. I'm
way.
talking about the psychiatrist,
right?
And
he wrote
he was talking about the alcoholic mind. He says in the normal individual, there is a tendency to create some privacy of his inner life for his motivations, reflections, and emotions, so that they are not completely accessible to the environment. Normally, this attempt interferes only slightly with the freedom of movement of outgoing and incoming stimuli and impulses. The boundary which the normal individual sets up between himself and the environment may be called a floating or diffuse boundary. In incipient alcoholism, however, it appears that the boundary is drawn somewhat tighter than is usual, and that with each stage of further development of the alcoholism, more and more gaps are closed until the alcoholic seems to have erected what may be called a barrier, which permits only a minimum of interplay between the inner self and the environment. Boy, is that true. You really do withdraw when you get deep into alcoholism.
Yeah, the act of surrender in the therapeutic process and the ego factors and the surrender in alcoholism. Surrender versus compliance in therapy. These are all very good, all good reads. The guy, he was a prolific. So he was a psychiatrist, I believe.
You should put the titles in the chat.
Conversion, surrender, confession, restitution, and the necessity of evangelizing others. Does it sound like the 10 steps or what? Conversion, surrender, confession, resolution, necessity of evangelizing others with
the 10
ideas.
steps.
Yeah, and those were the ideas brought from the Oxford group to Alcoholics Anonymous.
So what's the necessity for evangelizing? What's that all about?
That means you're going to go out and tell your story.
You got to give it away to keep it.
Who have the problem. Yeah, you got to give it away to keep it. Exactly.
That's how they say it.
And so you just, in evangelizing, what that means, Harry, is that you go to AA meetings and you make sure that people know that there's an AA meeting there if they want to come to it. And if they walk through the door, you provide support, and a little bit of understanding, shared war stories, and a place to get sober.
Mm-hmm.
That's just good. That's just good marketing. That's all that is.
Yeah.
Well, it's not. You're not wrong. The guy that started it was a marketer and a doctor. And the deal is that, see, the whole big deal to the whole thing is that once you achieve sobriety, the only way you can keep it is through helping others stay sober, or trying to, at least.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
It's like, you got someone you're working with, you're trying to do the steps with them, and they go out and get drunk, right? And they say, well, you fucking failed at your and no, it's no. I don't do that to keep him sober. I do this to keep me sober, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's an essential part, I think, personally. You have to have that relationship. It's a very special one. Very it's I'm one of those that I like to flip and get new one every couple of years, just it's like I always love new takes on perspective, man. It always helps me become a better person.
No, it does.
It does. Even though I'm a piece of shit,
We all are.
We all are. The before wokeism took hold, which is sort of the new big secular religion, it seemed like there was a period where things kind of calmed down. And then before that, you had a lot of these big movements where people were, like Warner Eckhart and Est and, just all of those kinds of things. Was it Eckanar? And even crazy stuff like the Rosicrucians and their weird sort of Talmudic, not Talmudic. I'm losing track of things, but the sort of weird Egyptian magic sort of stuff. It seemed like a lot of that stuff was being really successful for a while. You couldn't get away from Est and stuff like that. And then there was like a fallow period, and then suddenly I've traced it back to about 2006 when the world started to lose its mind on multiple fronts. Suddenly there was like this huge reaction, and now we have wokeism, and we can decide who the good people are and the bad people because there's a set of rules, and you can invoke them to take the property of the bad people and the jobs and the fame and everything else. This is like the worst thing that's come along in quite a while. This big problem that we've had, but it seemed like there were a lot of these sort of big organized self-help, self-exploration things going on for a while. And I'm kind of curious what it was about the 1970s American soul that was so different that it was just sort of yearning for that. Was it like a follow-on to the Summer of Love, or what the hell was going on? I wasn't as conscious of stuff back then as maybe Skep was.
Yeah. I would tend to think that part of it was the effect of the West Coast culture and the liberalizing nature of culture that was happening. Plus, one of the things that I think that has brought it to a head is that people now, through social media, have the ability to broadcast their opinion, their wokeness, their goodness. They can publicly help themselves to the serotonin by being virtuous on Twitter in front of the world. And there's a feeling among the Twitterati and the Facebook and TikTok crowd that what they're doing, when they're performing, when they're preparing a video or a TikTok tape or whatever, that they're doing it for posterity. They're doing it in front of the world, that they're proclaiming themselves to be proclaiming Black Lives Matter to the world because it's somehow important. It inflates the sense of self-importance of the tweeter and gives them something that they would never otherwise experience, and that is a feeling of real importance, of real worth. I think that's a lot of what's going on right now. This is just public preening by weak people. Does anybody else get that feeling or no?
Well, it's awfully easy. They don't have to actually get shot at by any Nazis. They can just decide that somebody's bad, and then as a mob, sometimes anonymously, they can go out and do things they would never do individually.
Right.
Absolutely.
And that's that's just completely, they're claiming to be really moral, but they're morally bankrupt. They're just cowards.
Yep.
Acting voluntarily, getting worked up as part of a mob.
Well, and that, and I think that kind of mindset, is like all it's done is it's like Marxism, and it's kind of fused with like Christianity, and then there's like the whole black movement, the Panthers, things like that, and it's all kind of meshed together. And original sin is racism, right? We're all born with the stain of it. Either we are racists or we are oppressed by racists, and we have that stain on us at birth.
Yeah, the Salvation Army thing was hilarious because here's a Christian organization.
No shit.
Which is found. I mean, I'm not a Christian, but I know plenty of them. I know I've read the book.
Yeah.
I have the T-shirt somewhere. And I can see, here's a Christian organization, and as I understand it, Christ dies for your sins, and you're reborn, and there's this whole redemption thing, which I think is fantastic, actually. And then, along comes wokeism, and it's like Jesus can take care of all of your sins except for racism. And that's something that can never go away. You have to spend the rest of your life being anti-racist because somebody wrote a book and got money, a consulting gig to put together materials for your company. Those things seem to be completely inconsistent to me. How can you be a real practicing Christian and be woke at the same time and embrace this idea of sort of original sin of whiteness? Because didn't Jesus take care of that with all the other stuff in the ledger?
Well, Jesus was a white male. He's a fucking white male.
I'm not so sure about that.
Haven't you ever seen the
all
photos?
The paintings?
He's kind of off-white. Kind of off-white a little bit.
Yeah, off-white. He's got brown hair, but it's a light brown hair, kind of with blonde highlights in it.
He's got blue eyes, right? And frosted
blue eyes,
tips.
Of course. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think Mary Magdalene did those for him. That was.
Yeah, she streaked his hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was a cosmetologist and a hooker.
Yeah. No,
Here, hon, let me touch up that beard of yours.
I was going to say she was a groupie. But if you think about it, it was kind of like a rock band. Well, we're going to this gig now, man. 13 people up, dude talks and shit happens. People are like, oh wow, that's awesome. All right, next thing. Bound to have some bitches. Come on.
I wonder if that's where Roger Waters got the idea for the Great Gig in the Sky. But, classical reference there.
Yeah. No, that was Richard Wright wrote that. That's his piece.
He wrote it. Who named it?
I think he did.
Did he name it?
I don't know. That's a good point, because he had the piece, pretty much sketched out when he brought it to the table.
Right.
I don't know, man. That's a good question.
Yeah.
That is a really good question.
Richard Wright, the unsung hero of that band.
There is a documentary that was made while they were making that album.
Really?
And yeah, there's footage of I think what they did was they had some stuff in the can, and then they decided to do it with Alan Parsons, right? And they were showing that they had to do a tape loop of the sounds that open up Money. That it's right. Yeah. It's on 5/4 time. So what he had to do was he had to take a tape machine, and they literally taped with actual, sticky, clear Scotch tape on the back, right? They taped each little chunk together, and they had to run it through a tape machine, right? Mm-hmm. And they had to use a mic stand as the other reel.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So they looped the mic stand out so where they pulled it where it'd be taut enough to where it would get recorded.
Wow.
Right.
That's awesome.
It's Alan Parsons, man.
Alan Parsons. What you talking about? Talent on loan from God.
That's right. That's like an apex in artistic history.
Oh yeah,
that album is beautiful.
Well, Bob Fripp used to do, or Robert Fripp. I don't know him that well. I should call him Bob. Robert Fripp used to do these big old, what he called Frippertronics loops, where he would lay down tracks on an analog tape, and it would be stretched out across the room like that. And so he basically just keep layering stuff over the top.
And looping and looping and looping on top of it and layering on top of that, and that loops on top of it, man.
And of course, as it gets older and older, old stuff gets overwritten, newer stuff comes to the fore.
Right.
It's all about adjusting the tape heads so that they overwrite just the right amount. And you have to disable the demagnetizing head that's at the front. Because on those old reel-to-reels, the first thing it would demagnetize.
It would demag.
It demagnetized.
Right. It would erase. Right. Exactly. It would erase.
So basically, there's a bunch of magnetic particles on a Mylar tape, and as the tape would pass over these heads, one would demagnetize, and then another one would basically write the new signal, and then there was another head for reading the signal. Mm-hmm. So if you're recording, you would demagnetize and then record, and if you're playing back, obviously you wouldn't do either of those other things. You would just use the playback head. And the really fancy ones actually had different heads for playback at different speeds, which was pretty darn cool. But anyway, you could do all kinds of fun things. Now, when you see these guys with their one-man band, where they just start laying down tracks and they've got a rhythm box, and okay, now I've got a rhythm.
Dude. He's got a sequencer, and I love that shit.
It's just so much easier than it used to be. That shit used to be really hard, but I think giving musicians better tools is a good thing. This isn't one of these romantically looking back things, but you do have to admire the hard work and creativity of the people who made that shit work before they had all this new stuff.
Yeah, man. Like, I was just listening to Emerson, Lake and Palmer. The first time that they did Take a Pebble was at the Isle of Wight Festival. It was before the first album had come out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just
everybody knew how amazing they were going to be, though. I remember when that was happening.
Yeah, there's a video. There's a Swedish TV video crew that was with them that filmed that, and it's incredible the amount of talent in that band. Just 3 people. Mm-hmm. And Keith Emerson, of course, was the shining star, fusing classical, jazz, and rock perfectly, in my opinion.
I couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. But Greg Lake is overlooked. He was a legit guitarist. A legit guitarist.
King Crimson.
He can play the bass. He multi-instrumentalist. Just amazing.
Did Lake play in King Crimson?
He was on, the Court of the
Yeah.
Crimson King.
Because
that
I always
album,
think of
Yes.
Bruford when I think of
that's him singing it. That's him singing that album.
or sorry, Adrian Belew and those Belew and Fripp.
I'm-
I thought were on guitar.
I
for
met
King
Belew,
Crimson.
dude. Yeah.
Cool.
No, Belew was later. He was an add-on. King Crimson started in like the 68, 69. And 69 was when the Court of the Crimson King came out with that 21st Century Schizoid Man.
Yeah,
that's
I'm
all
more in
Greg White's
discipline
lyrics.
Three of a Perfect Pair era. So
Oh, dude,
you started
man,
a little bit before I did.
Oh yeah, Thela and Gingy,
Oh, that's good stuff.
dude. Yeah, that's.
I think I sent Skep and Prospero a link to an acapella set of acapella, one person just doing with vocalizations a bunch of stuff for King Crimson. I'll find that and I'll send it to the chat. Hold on.
That would be fun.
That was actually
crazy.
really entertaining.
Yeah.
I bet.
Oh no, is
But
my
yeah.
audio staticky again?
Yes, it's all poppy, but it's
God
you're
damn it.
still perfectly legible.
It's
Legible,
irritating.
hearable.
And
It just goes poppity pop every once in a while.
Okay, so I
It's
haven't
not-
fixed
it's not
that
a big
problem.
deal.
Damn it.
No, you have not fixed that problem. And like right now, you're absolutely clear. So there are times when you are 100% clear and then it comes back. Almost makes me think it's environmental.
Oh, this is a great annoyance.
Like a mic problem type of a thing.
It does it even with another mic, but we'll deal with this.
Oh,
offline.
really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, we promise not to troubleshoot in front of you, audience. We'll troubleshoot it later. But yeah, it's so in outrageous things that have happened on the news this week. Have either of you guys heard of this guy named Chris Cuomo? He's
king of brotherly
this
love.
newscast. He's this newscaster on CNN, or was. They let him go this week just on account of he was helping his brother, who was the governor of New York. He was just helping his brother do a good job.
And now this thing with Don Lemon,
And
it's a perfect storm for Brian.
But he was just helping his brother. And he said so. We should believe him, right?
Oh, totally.
He's just helping his brother.
Yeah.
He's just helping the goat over the fence.
It's kind of interesting the way the elites are treating these dudes, man.
Kid gloves, man.
Indeed. Well, and to be honest, they're being rough on them, I think, than they would be on their own.
They fired Chris Cuomo, and that makes me think that he may have some legal liability, and that's why they got scared. I think it was in their minds that they'd just hold him out for a while and then introduce him back, kind of the way they did with Tubin. And then they realized, no, this guy has sinned too much. His sins are going to come out, and it's going to be too bad for us to deal with. We don't.
I think it's a little more bottom line oriented. I think this is a great opportunity to get rid of him and Don Lemon, and try to like.
But he's got their
what's
number
left of
one
their
show.
fucking credibility as a news.
He's got their number one
organization.
show.
Yeah, but it's they're
I know
fucking.
it's horrible. It's doing
The
horrible.
viewership's down from like, it's like down 78% from.
So you think they're going to use this as an excuse to
January.
reorganize?
Their number one losing show. It doesn't matter if you're losing if it's number one. They're ready to restructure. Yeah.
Yeah. Because man, they've just like that Tubin's a great example of letting dumb shit fly.
Yeah.
When and then it's like, well, that's dumb shit too. It's like, well, I'm not going to say what I'm thinking. So,
You know, Tubin's a weird guy. It's anybody who's stroking it to coworkers. I'm sorry, that's just beyond the pale. But that said,
who was on there? I mean, at least was SE Cup on? I mean, isn't she like the only decent looking one at CNN?
Joy Reid.
The Brienne bitch,
Joy
you know?
Reid.
Right.
Yes,
She might be
Joy
attractive.
Reid. Well, who hasn't? Who hasn't self-pleasured to Joy Reid?
Fact of joy. God.
Yeah.
You talk about a hard-on killer. You talk
Yeah.
about a bone killer. Man.
Yeah, she
Oh,
is
yeah.
she's a real boner killer.
Oh, that's erections demolished right
That
there,
level
man.
that level of stupid just makes your body defensively suck your testicles up inside your body cavity.
It really does.
You wouldn't want anything accidental to happen that would no.
That's,
That's not
some
good.
kind of turtle reaction.
Run away, run away.
Let's see. I'm trying to find
No.
a story here. This might entertain you, Skep. Oh, let's see. That would be the wrong chat. Let me send this to you. Take a look at this.
Presented for your approval.
I can give the précis while you're getting caught up.
Yes, please.
So basically, a company, I think it's Better.com, digital mortgage lender, they went public and they ended up raising, getting valued about $7 billion. So the company was worth $7 billion. And right after this, they put together a Zoom meeting. And the CEO of the company said, "This makes me very sad to do this, but if you were invited to this meeting of the 900 people, you're fired." And needless to say, this pissed off a lot of people because I'm sure many of those folks were involved in putting the company together and getting it past the IPO stage, initial public offering, where it
Right.
becomes publicly traded and you can buy stock in the company. And then to wait just mere days right before Christmas. I'm not saying he did anything technically wrong, but at the very least, it's a bad look.
Dude.
This is
I
the kind
work
of
for-
thing. This is the kind of thing that that pisses people off in a really visceral sort of way.
Dude, man, I worked for a company where at the fucking company Christmas party, one of the VPs ran around giving people pink slips
Nice.
and severance checks, man. He was a fucking piece of shit. Oh my God. I'm laughing because it was oh man, it pissed everybody. That was one to remember, that party, man, because a lot of people got trashed. And it was, a place that was supposed to help people not do that. So I don't know. It was yeah, I remember that, dude. Just saying.
Were you one of the laid off, or were you one of the survivors who got to work extra?
Dude, I was new, so yeah, they weren't paying me enough to boot me.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh
yeah.
I know what you're saying.
This is the way this CEO structured the call. He says, "I come to you with not great news," CEO Vishal Garg said in the video, which has since circulated on TikTok and YouTube. "The market has changed, as you know, and we have to move with it in order to survive. This isn't news you're going to want to hear, but ultimately it was my decision, and I wanted you to hear it from me." Okay. He just used the word I, me, and my 3 times in one sentence. The last time I
Sounds
did
like
this,
Obama.
listen to this. The last time I did this, I cried 2 more times. This time I hope to be stronger. another. So that's 6 times in three short sentences, very short sentences, that he has referred to himself. So we know this is really about him, not about you. He gets
You
back
don't know
to
how hard this is on me.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He says, if
Hashtag
you're on
malignant
this call,
narcissist.
he says, if
So-
you're on this call, you are part of the unlucky group that is being laid off. So they were just unlucky. Garg said, citing market efficiency, performances, productivity among the reasons for the layoffs. The person recording the video is seemingly furious. Fuck you, dude. He says as Garg announces this is. I can just imagine. Garg also offers his hopes that those who got laid off will be more successful, more fortunate, and luckier in your next endeavor. What is this with luck?
I must have this video.
Bad luck. Your number came up. You've been marked for death. I don't know. I just wonder how a company that is making those kinds of decisions is going to do. Sometimes, particularly in companies like that, if they have a morale collapse internally, you can really see a company go through some difficult times. And it'll be interesting. I suspect that this is one of those CEOs that's better at getting the company to the point where it's ready to sell, which is sort of the name of the game in Silicon Valley these days, as I understand it.
Mm-hmm.
And then he is an administrator. This guy is not a day-to-day administrator. He's not going to be able to take this.
He's not a people guy, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he may not be a managing guy either. He may not be a manager. He's, one of these kind of campaigners, advertisers, salesman types that gets a company together, gets the concept together, and gets it to the IPO level, or gets it sold to some big company. And that's a different skill set from administering a company day to day. Very different. Is that a fair statement, Harry?
It is a fair statement, and it's not just the guy at the top. I've seen this happen several times where people will work their ass off trying to build some company. They'll go through the hard times, and then things will start to turn around, and the first thing they do is suddenly look at the people that are working there and go, these people have really served us well, but they're not the right people for this next phase of our journey. And they just take like, oh, you were the CTO. Okay, we get a new fancier CTO now that we have money. And they just start firing the people that put in all the time. This is why I'm much happier not being anybody's employee. Let's just say I've seen enough. I have trust issues. Serious trust issues. Because it happens all the time. It doesn't matter who it is, where you are in the company. Once you become successful, these kinds of things seem to happen more often than you'd expect. And I guess I'm just an old softy. I would have at least waited till January, but he's trying to make the books balance, and he does have a fiduciary responsibility once you're a publicly traded company, but it's not like you don't have to really shore up the books and make things look good before. There's this whole process of a couple of years. It used to take longer, but now it's like a couple of years before they go public, where they have to have people come in and look at the books and satisfy everybody that they're a well-run, viable company before they do this.
He's a hard charger.
Yeah. It's just, it's not a good thing. I went on Glassdoor just to see what people were saying about this company, and it looks like they haven't really... things haven't really caught up to them yet. This is all so new that people haven't actually had time to go in there and say nasty shit about them.
Oh, dude, just pull up the search engines, there's an obvious attempt to destroy this deal. Right?
Let's see. Yeah. Better.com insights based on 31 survey responses. What people like: fair pay for job, areas of improvement, energizing work task, overall satisfaction, trust in colleagues, not being thrown under the bus when you get the IPO. I think that's the whole list.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, I feel for the guy a little bit because he may have been put in a bad position, but at the very least, it just looks just freaking terrible.
Yeah.
So it says they received $750 million in cash as part of the deal, right? So I'm wondering if he got a big bonus. Did he get that Griswold pool bonus?
Well, everybody who was probably in the company more than likely was getting some kind of private stock that got converted, or
Yeah.
they were in the IPO. You know, they were able to buy in a certain number of shares when it went public,
Well,
and if it
when it
went
goes-
well,
when it
then
goes-
you make money.
Yeah, when it goes well, there's a rule, an SEC rule. It's called Rule 144,
Mhm.
and you, as the founder, typically you are issued what they call 144 stock. 144 stock is an enormous stock with close to a zero cost basis for you. So basically, a gift of stock to you as the founder. And you get to keep that for 3 years, and you can't sell it. You can't do anything. You can't even look at it. You know, yet it just exists outside of you for 3 years while it's under 144 abeyance. And then in 3 years, you can sell it, and it's an enormous amount of stock, it's an enormous amount of money. But it's to Rule 144 was formulated as part of the Securities and Exchange Act of 1934, was formulated to preserve an orderly market, because otherwise you're just having wild runs in the stock price, you know, way up, way down, way up, way down, as enormous blocks are traded, you know, as soon as that happens. Now, what ends up happening is that it just pushed it 3 years into the future. It pushed that instability 3 years in the future, but you hope that the company's more stable by then. And of course, in the intervening years, specialty brokerage houses that exist only in the hearts and minds of stockbrokers, only stockbrokers know about these firms, exist to handle those types of transactions. And they do them, as they call them, are off-market crosses. And so when Bill Gates wants to sell, and he did this one night, he sold $1 billion worth of Microsoft shares. And I'm sorry, he sold 100 million. That's what it was, $100 billion worth of Microsoft shares. And they did it in a market cross, and that market trade never hit the New York Stock Exchange statistics. Those are done off the books as a result. But anyway, a little bit of inside baseball into the stock brokerage business.
I'm sure that costs a lot less in terms of, it's probably the cheapest way to do that transfer too.
Absolutely the cheapest way. It is. I mean, it literally is an almost free transaction. Yeah.
Well, the stock exchange does not need to get their cut for that. They can bugger right off.
The stock exchange are outmoded. The stock exchange exists as a polite fiction these days. It's like it's like seeing it's like seeing Led Zeppelin. They're a tribute band to themselves. The New York Stock Exchange is a tribute band to itself. It's a museum piece to itself. It has no real raison d'etre anymore. Every single trade that happens on a computer now. It's there's the trades that happen at the specialist and that the specialists send to the floor brokers are those trades are actually done electronically, even though they are also recorded on the floor of the stock exchange. But that stuff is all done electronically. You could close down all the exchanges right now. It wouldn't change a thing. Would not change one thing.
Good. Let's do that.
Except a lot of ridiculous, overpaid, unhung scoundrels in lower Wall Street would be without a job, and that would be a good thing in my opinion. But hey, what do I know? But anyway, that's about all. That's about all I have. I noticed that we're kind of running down a little bit, and I noticed we've been going for 90 minutes. Might be a good time to kind of send it around one last time here and call it a night. Unless somebody had something that they deeply wanted to discuss.
No, this is, I accumulate stuff for Saturday all week. And then I look at stuff and I go, does this belong more on a Tuesday than on a Saturday? Because on Saturday, we're stick and move. We don't we don't have time for longer topics about Est and Warner Eckhart and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, I like this one to be a little bit more of a long conversation. Just kind of let it go whither it will.
Indeed. Well, I was thinking about that. There's I think I've mentioned this before. Every frame of pause, or EFAP, the thing that Mueller, Mooler, puts out. They do these movie reviews where it's just like a handful of people, not just movie reviews, TV, and these guys will basically just shoot the breeze. They did one on the Dune movie that just came out. They spent 8 hours talking about a 2.5 hour movie. Was it even 2.5 hours? I mean, it's like the most long format thing, and you think this is really stupid, but no, I actually really enjoy that kind of stuff. I like really long format stuff. To me, anything worth doing is worth overdoing. So I enjoy that kind of stuff. And some of these military history things are great too. I saw this thing, was it the Golan Heights when, was it Syria tried to attack, in 1973, attack Israel? I watched this 1 hour thing that was just all the tank battles of that engagement. Yeah. And it was like, that was amazing. They were outnumbered like more than 10-1, and the Israelis managed to prevail. And it was all down to just little tiny things in the design of the tank and individual pieces of heroism that could
the shot cow or the Merkava.
I forget. Well, the tanks that they had the two different types of tanks on both sides. They had the Russian tanks on the other side. Yes. And they were charging up the hill at them, and the Israelis had the advantage because the barrels of their tanks could actually go down 5 degrees.
That's right. And I know what you're talking about. That's
so these guys were charging at them, and they couldn't fire on them because their barrels would only point up, and the Israelis were like, "Oh well, shooting gallery." And this is how they were able to, prevail against a pretty damn tough force that was 10 times their size.
Yeah,
scrappy little group of fighters. But stuff like that is amazing. I think I've watched this one documentary that was like 2 hours on the Falklands conflict. And even though I was alive during the time, I wasn't really aware of a lot of what was going on. You didn't find out about all the stuff during the fog of war. You just see what there was on the news, and then, Queen Elizabeth was happy, and they got the Malvinas back and put the Falklands flag back up, and that was good. But I love that kind of long format stuff. There's no topic that I won't beat to death given half a chance.
I like the way you dig in, man. Yeah. I like deep dives.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, some of the military stuff is really interesting. I don't know what it is about naval battles that is so interesting to me. The mechanics of naval battles are really, really fascinating. But the odd tank battle's okay too. Man, 10-1, that's amazing.
Yeah.
There's so many times when Israel should have just been destroyed, and they just managed to pull it out of the crapper each time. respect.
Indeed.
Anyway, that's just me expressing my love for long format stuff, Skep. Did we lose him? Is he taking the dog out? Oh, he said he'll be right back. He's taking the dog out. Okay. Yeah,
Sorry
no,
about
there's
that.
that's okay. There's a number of great things out there. I could send you some links to some stuff, but some of the the whole story of the Battle of Coral Sea is really interesting, as well as of course Midway. Midway is like famous. One of these days when I pick up a night and it's not the regular Saturday night, really should dive into some of this stuff. Just the question of whether or not we actually broke the Japanese cipher and to what degree is pretty darn interesting.
Are you talking about World War II here?
Yeah, I'm talking about purple and the cipher that we managed to decode, because the Enigma machine thing was
The
interesting.
Japanese thing.
But if you compare breaking purple to the Enigma code, that's a really interesting topic.
Purple was a huge deal.
It was, because we reverse engineered it without having any captured hardware or anything. We basically had to imagine what the machine that did the cipher looked like. It was a huge intellectual accomplishment to break purple. As famous as the Enigma thing was, purple is the more interesting one to me.
Yeah, I would agree with you. It's I don't want to say that it was a bigger thing. What was it called? The Type B, the System 97 typewriter for European characters. The Type B cipher machine, codenamed Purple, was the encryption machine used by the Japanese Foreign Office from February 1939 to the end of World War II. It was an electromechanical device that used stepping switches to encrypt the most sensitive diplomatic traffic. And the messages were written in the 26-letter English alphabet, which was commonly used for telegraphy. Any Japanese text had to be transliterated or coded. The 26 letters were separated by using a plug board into two groups, so forth and so on. Gives the particulars for how it was encrypted. And, that was an interesting thing. I can't remember how there was.
Well, using just the encoded samples, they had to devise a model for how that worked. We didn't have any captured anything, any blueprints. Colonel Hogan didn't take a tiny picture with a tiny camera and strap it to a pigeon's leg, and none of that shit. We had to just use sheer brain power to go, what would a machine look like that produces this output?
Yes.
Right.
It's a huge intellectual achievement, and you don't hear people talking about it. I guess because all of the History Channel has a permanent boner for the Civil War and Hitler. So they love covering, ghosts of Nuremberg, or if they can throw ghosts in with the Civil War stuff, even more, that's even better. But a lot of stuff that happened in the Pacific Theater was, maybe it's because I'm a left coaster, but really interesting stuff to me.
Mm.
There's a whole bunch of stuff that we ought to eventually talk about. I think a serious discussion of the Japanese internment camps is probably long overdue as well.
We actually did have part of a purple machine. We got it from the Japanese embassy in Germany when we overran Berlin.
But that wasn't before Pearl Harbor.
No, it definitely was not before Pearl Harbor. Definitely was not before Pearl Harbor.
It wasn't before Midway.
No, it was 1945.
Yeah.
1945.
So yeah, we got our hands on it later, but we had already
Yeah.
at least partially cracked their code before Midway. And this is the and Pearl. We
Well, that was
didn't
the
want
thing.
them to know this. This is the whole thing. The people who get conspiratorial about Pearl Harbor is there's a strong body of not stupid people who think that we had a pretty good idea of what was going to happen.
Certainly had those weather reports. Those
Yeah,
weather-
and you notice
weather
what they
plane-
did with
weather
Halsey.
plane reports.
They
yeah.
got Halsey the hell out of the way so he couldn't cause trouble. Let's send the competent person out. You just go north. Just go see what's between here and ADAC.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but that's
enjoy
like,
that.
that's the thing that Howard Zinn's been peddling for 40 years.
A bunch of people.
Textbooks.
You know, there's a lot of people who believe that stuff. And,
Yeah.
and the argument that we actually knew enough from their diplomatic traffic that something was going to happen, it doesn't prove anything, but it's sure an interesting hypothesis.
Well, you know, it's like if you look at it from a logical standpoint, that, you know, it was going to happen. It was just a matter of time, I think. I think that there were, you know, people that were smart enough to say, you know, this is, you know, this shit's going to heat up and we're going to have to get in on it, you know, because of the lessons learned in World War One.
Anyway, the thing I was going to get to about obtaining portions of the Purple Machine from the Japanese embassy in Germany following Germany's defeat in 1945, they discovered that the stepping switch that the Japanese used was identical to the one that they had built to simulate it. That is a feat of nearly intellectual levitation, would you not say, Harry?
Oh yeah, I'm not a crypto expert. But I can get by.
But
And,
it is fascinating. Yeah.
Well, it takes a particular type of mind,
Yes.
not necessarily a type of mind that exists in a well-balanced, well-adjusted person, but it takes a particular type of mind to do that kind of thinking. And what you're going to end up with somebody is probably somebody who's sort of like a savant.
Yeah.
To deal with that kind of stuff, because you need somebody who sees the world very differently and can think in terms of mathematical expressions. I am not that person. I would have never decoded this thing, but then again, neither would 99.99999% of people on the planet.
It's a phenomenal idea. You look at the individual sheets that they had to look at with just, they're just sheets with how many is this? 10 groups of 5 random letters each, and they are 52 a set. So there are, 5 times 10, 10 rows of 5-letter words, and none of it makes any sense, and they're all in perfect columnar order, perfect space. That's all they had to deal with, and some of that code is operative. Some of it's garbage. All of it is deeply encrypted.
Well, after the fact, you can look at these and then look at things that happened and then start making educated guesses about what the content of that might have been. And then you can start looking at the patterns of the numbers and comparing all the different data. You have to synthesize that. But then somebody with the right type of mind, that gifted human, has to look at it and go, I think I know what they're doing. How would I do that if I wanted to produce the same result? And then they just started building.
Yeah,
it's a huge accomplishment.
That really was.
Did you hear that?
No.
That was a whip snapping. Just saying.
So there you go.
Uzi's whip. I'm whipped.
I guess this means you need to go.
No, no. I can hang in for probably another 15. Then I might probably have to.
All right. Well,
skedaddle.
we're fairly close to shutting it
We're
down.
good,
for the
man.
evening.
You know, let's
I'm
keep
good.
rolling. We're doing the damn thing. Let's do it.
But, you know, you just life presents you with things like you need to decrypt this Japanese machine or they're going to destroy your country. They will enact the greater Southeast Asian co-prosperity sphere and lock you out of that part of the world and then eventually come and try and conquer your country. I still don't have a problem with going to war with Japan.
Or
Oh, no.
using the bombs either.
I mean, can you imagine representatives from some foreign country coming to our country in a bunch of planes and killing 3,000 people in one morning?
Exactly.
We'd go to war with those people in a minute, wouldn't we?
Unless we were buying oil from them.
Well, there's that. Where were those people from who were in the 9/11 planes? Were any of them from Saudi Arabia?
We're all from Saudi Arabia.
A bunch of them were.
19 out of 19 of them were from Saudi Arabia. Yeah. 19 out of 19 that were in the planes.
Well, numbers are racist, so
Yeah. So they weren't really from Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Those are
Even though
Arabic
they were.
numbers. Then. So what does that make them?
Belief is a choice.
I mean,
Stop
Bin Laden
it.
was from a very rich family, so ultimately,
yeah.
wasn't he really just an ally of the patriarchy?
Basically.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
really,
yeah,
wasn't this just capitalism reaching its apex of depravity?
Right. It's death rattle.
Yeah,
I remember when people were. I remember some commentary that came out saying that, you know, killing all the people in the World Trade Center was a net gain for humanity because there were just a bunch of fat cats.
Oh, really? And all those people slaving away in those offices,
And all those
struggling to
firemen,
afford their
those
shitty apartments.
and shit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, people are idiots.
I think we can conclude that. I think that the evolutionary objective of this mammalian species is to build the perfect idiot, and I think we're making real strides.
Oh yeah, we're doing just fine.
I mean, look at the AOC model. Look at the squad models that we have. Look at the Abramopotamus. We've got idiots to the left and to the right. A fine crop of idiots, frankly.
Yeah, no kidding.
So I don't know that. You know, that's an interesting thing. Everybody seems to think that what we need to do is something political. I'm not absolutely sure that's what it is. I'm not sure what the answer is to our problems, but I don't think we're going to find the answer in a Superman type figure who's going to come and save the United States by being the president we need, you know.
I have a terrible meme for you.
I can't wait.
Just to lighten up things.
Oh yeah. Show me your meme.
Let's see. Why is it not changing over? Oh, there it is.
When you're chilling, it says. That is just so wrong.
I don't want people to think we
Hey,
take
wait.
things too seriously.
Hey, wait. Hey. Oh my. Too soon.
Too
Yeah,
soon.
it definitely is too soon.
That's funny.
I just figured we were getting ready to tie things up. I thought we needed something to laugh about.
I think that's a good palate cleanser. I think that's a good one to end on, guys. I
Want to quit while we're ahead?
I quit while we're ahead, and but I want to thank everybody for coming out and listening to us. Wasn't a very organized show tonight, but sometimes life is like that. I'm sorry for. I'm dealing with a puppy, and I'm getting called away, so that's been a distraction, and. We'll have the puppy until Christmas Day when it becomes somebody's Christmas present. Yay. But, then luck I'll have it housebroken by then. But anyway, I do want to thank all of you guys coming out and listening to us, and thanking my panel, Irate Prostate and the Harry channel, my friends coming hanging out with me. We'll do it again next week. We'll do it Saturday night too, on Harry's channel on Harry's night, and it'd be much more structured, much more organized show than this. But for tonight, the zoo is closed. Everybody, good night.
Good night.